You're still muted.
Oops. Welcome, everybody. It's December 16th, 2025, and this is the Lyn and Lori webinar. We are trying to find out where Lyn was. I just talked to him like an hour ago on the phone. So he was doing great. So I'm not sure if maybe he's having trouble finding his link or what's going on, um, but we've got people looking out for him right now, seeing if they can connect with him and getting him on here. Hey, Karen, good to see you. Hey, Tamitha, good to see you. Hey, Ryan Montgomery, good to see you too. Hey, welcome, Jenny
Oh,
from Scarborough. Okay, good deal.
Lynn is here, but he couldn't
Pardon me?
come in as a host.
Say that again.
Lynn is here, but he couldn't
Oh,
come in as a host. But let me uh see.
hi, Violetta from Cyprus. Good to see you. So Lynn is here with us. Hey, Dave Sell, I haven't seen you in forever. How are you? I'm glad that you're here. And we've got from Brighton Marina, England. I'm so glad you're here. Oh, okay. Okay, so Lynn's having trouble getting in. Trixie's going to get him in. We'll get it. Anne, thank you for your beautiful Christmas card. I really appreciate that. Uh, Great. Okay, that's a great question too. I'm just trying to say hello to everybody while we're waiting to get. There he is! Yay! Yay! We found him. Okay, good deal. Okay,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just great.
Good. I evidently got the wrong link.
Oops, sorry about that. Yeah,
I'll let you
okay.
go, Lynn. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thanks, David.
Bye.
Okay. Yes, Jennifer asked, so we're only communicating through the Q&A. Yes, Jennifer, we only use the Q&A. We do not use the chat because when in the past when we've done this with the chat just is rolling constantly. We can't read the questions. We can't make sure that we're answering in order. So the Q&A works so much better for us. So that's why the chat is disabled. And then, hey, Lyra and JT, great to see you guys. Haven't seen you in a while. Oh, thanks, David. Hi from the future in New Zealand. Yes, it is the future in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so great, Karen. I'm so glad you're getting your training done. That's wonderful. Hi from New Jersey, Peter. Hello from Massachusetts. Excuse me. Okay, now we're getting into some questions here. And here we go. Hey, Rhonda, good to see you. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we essentially have three questions up right now. And now I've cleared away all the hellos. And so all we have in the thing is several questions now. Okay, good deal. So the first question is from Dax, and she says, "My question for Lyn and Lori: Has your family seen the positive? Oops, what was that?
I'm sorry.
That was a strange sound. Let's see here. Let me I'm gonna. There we go. Okay, now I've got it to where it's just you and me on the screen there, Lynn. Yes, and so has your family seen the positive results of CRV, and how did you demonstrate it? That's Dax. You know, my first foray into talking to my family about CRV was I think I'd been Lynn's student for a few months, and I went to go visit my parents, and I brought my all my CRV, my notebook, and everything, and I was showing my dad, and I was showing him sessions as an ex-military guy. He was really excited by it and just thought it was amazing. And then, and I think he would have loved to take the class himself. He was ill, pretty ill for the last few years of his life, so that wasn't an option. But he really wanted to. And then my kids, of course, they grew up doing sessions, you know, and so and we used it. Many times the kids would ask me if I would do a session. For example, one of them had a personal friend that was missing, and I did a session to help find the missing friend. And the missing friend did end up actually coming home within about an hour after I did my session, but had been missing for 6 days. So,
Mm.
and it turned, so I got lots of feedback, and I was very validated from that. We also used it a lot to keep our kids safe and away from drugs by remote viewing what they were intending to do before they did it. So in my personal case, yes, we really used it a lot. My mom asked me to do a session to get some answers she needed after my dad died. And my sisters say that it's always really a great topic of dinner conversation. whenever they whenever they're at a dinner party and they want to spice things up, they just talk about me and my my remote viewing. So that's my answer to that question. Lynn, did you have an answer to that question?
The uh, the boning was going on when you read the question, and I
Has your family seen the positive results of CRV, and how did you
oh yes,
demonstrate it?
oh absolutely. Well, of course, while I was in the military, we were honor bound to never use it for our own purposes at home, only for the military. Oh, you got it and you're not going to use it? Come on. Of course, yeah. Um, uh, Family planning, life planning, financial planning, everything. Oh, absolutely. We used it, yeah. And, or I used it. Uh, I was duty bound and did not tell them what I was doing or what I did at work, you know.
Hmm.
But sure. I mean, it's a fantastic tool. Why not use it?
Yeah, that's okay. Let's see what next one. Next one, Ann Smith asked, while I was exploring your website, I came across something called the virtual monitor. Is this something new? I was curious, and I'm wondering if this feature was created for beginners or any remote viewing viewer practicing alone. Lynn invented the virtual monitor. It's a program that he created, and it used to come on a little floppy drive. And I loved it because what you could do is you could enter your coordinates and it would read them back to you whenever, and you could push a button whenever you wanted the coordinates read. And then it would also give you it would give you all kinds of great move commands and action cues whenever you asked for it. It had a lot of great functions and it just kind of acted like a virtual monitor. One of my students who was a programmer put it up as a kind of a generic program and then put it on the website. The problem, though, is that he then later went on to other things and is no longer doing programming and, in fact, is no longer available, period. And as WordPress kept updating, the programs he created, which were the practice ideogram program and the monitoring program, the virtual monitor, which were just copies of what Lynn had already invented. But those things that he had put on the website, they just became obsolete and they no longer really work with WordPress. I don't think somebody might be able to
Well,
check and see if it's working, but I don't.
WordPress is the pets. It always has been. Um, I have a Windows program that fits on your own computer. You don't have to sign up to the internet for it. And if I can find it, I can drop it into the chat room.
That would
And
be
people
awesome.
with Windows computers uh, can use it. I don't have a Mac version.
That's so
Uh,
sad.
I'll look. I'll look for it.
Okay,
Okay.
that would be great. Yeah, it worked wonderfully for a little while. It just doesn't work with it anymore. So we should probably even take those down. That might be something to make a note of, Trixie, to talk to David about seeing if we might want to, if those programs are not going to work with WordPress, we might as well take them off the site. Although Paul said he thought he maybe had a developer or programmer who could get them working properly again for Mac. And but what they do is they just make it a web-based version, so it doesn't matter if you're on Microsoft or Mac. They work either way, and that's the way they were before the whole WordPress thing happened. Okay, so we're sometimes interfered with by technology, right? And then we have,
Yeah.
let's see. Okay, no, cancel. Okay, then we have Joel Mitchell. Lynn, when viewing death moments in your book, you mentioned the person awoke in a new body at a young age versus as a baby for their next life. Do you think young age reincarnation is more common than as a baby?
Uh, I probably think it is. I have no proof of any kind, but almost all of the societies around the world, the ancient societies, have a coming of age right around 12. And, um, it seems like it's not that they mature, but it's that, they seem to get a different person around age 12 or something. I don't know. I know that many of the customs are that around age 12 or 13, you change from a baby into an adult. And uh, the uh, the ones that I saw during that series of taskings, uh, they came back as around a 12-year-old. So I have no idea.
I had an experience after my dad died. He visited me several times to give me advice and things like that. And then the last visitation, he was getting younger and younger, and he turned into like an adolescent and said, I have to go now. I have to step into this other kid's life. And then he totally transformed into a different it was no longer my dad at 12. It was now a totally different person at 12, and he was stepping in
Hmm.
at that age into someone else's life. And I sometimes have wondered if maybe what happens is, if you think of the conscious mind as like the ego part of ourselves that retains memories, that experiences all these things in
Mhm.
life, and then the subconscious, if it were kind of like our soul, and it's the part that's connected to all that is the great big cosmic database in the sky. So what if we simply move this, the soul part of us moves from conscious mind to conscious mind, and when we step in, we actually experience that person's stage of life right there for whatever lessons we're supposed to glean as they go through these different things. And as soon as we step in, we have all their memories and all their understanding and everything, and we just step in and we just kind of get to experience that. That would be a really interesting theory, kind of a little different take on the reincarnation idea. But I don't know. One night that struck me like, what if? And I don't know that that is the truth, but it's kind of interesting. Then we have Lyra and JT asked, we're currently experimenting with ARV and we're running into issues with displacement and pollution despite taking every possible precaution to avoid it. We've read almost everything we can on the subject and we're kind of at a loss. In a team of 2 people, what are the best ways to avoid displacement? We have made sure that our testing binary outcome isn't one which is subject to the future changing. Thank you. That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I have never overcome the problem of displacement myself. I mean, displacement in ARV is, especially when your subconscious mind, if you do it too much. What happened to me is I just did it so much because I was working for Marty Rosenblatt at the time. And excuse me, hold on just a second. Anyway, so I was working with Marty and I was doing an ARV every single day for like 2 years. And my subconscious got really sick of ARV, and then it began to displace like with regularity, and the displacement was so strong that it was like, okay, I eventually got to where I just was like, I just don't think my subconscious is going to cooperate with me on ARV. It hates ARV now. So it hates doing ARV. So I've had a lot of problems with displacement that was never overcome. Lynn, do you have a better answer than that? I hope. Oh wait, I think you're muted. I think you're muted, Lynn. Sorry.
Unmute. I'm sorry, I've been trying to find that virtual monitor program. I have always felt that most of the problems with displacement in ARV is the feedback, uh, just poorly developed feedback. And if the person who honchos the ARV project selects the feedback options properly, it really, really cuts down on the displacement. It really does. Uh, and it's picking ARV feedback options can be really hard. It's almost like an art form. But one of the worst ways, in my opinion, to do ARV. What happened? One of the worst ways to do ARV is pictures in envelopes. Getting even two pictures that don't have anything in common is very hard. And if you, this is what I've preached for years. You'll be tired of hearing this, Lori. If you find out what sense you are most sensitive to, sight, sound, hearing, taste, whatever, and you use those, that's what you're most sensitive to. So instead of a picture of a farmhouse or a picture of a building, something like that, have your feedback. Well, I always give the roulette table one.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the roulette table, you take a Coke, a glass of Coke, a bag of chips, and some sweet raisins. Okay, candied raisins. All right. And if the ball is going to drop into red, you will drink some Coke afterwards. If it drops into the black, you're going to eat some chips afterwards. If it drops into the green, you're going to have some sweet raisins. Now then, before the guy spins the wheel and draws the ball, mentally move to right after the roll. What do I taste? Salty? I'm going to bet on black, and because I'm sensitive to tastes. And, that way there's no distinguishing. There's no overlap, no farmhouse and building downtown. Oh, they're both man-mades. Come on.
Yes, I should have clarified. I have terrible displacement when we do the picture and envelopes thing. I absolutely hate
Oh,
it.
yeah, it's
But
terrible.
I actually do really well using Lyn's sensory technique because sound is my strongest sense, and then the next strongest one would be the sense of touch, so heat. Excuse me, and I use that kind of ARV all the time successfully in my life. In that I use it especially to pick out gifts that like if I'm trying to decide between assortment of things, like when I was going to buy a knife for Jim, a little pocket knife. He had broken his pocket knife that he'd carried for years, and I went into a shop in Albuquerque where they had these gorgeous inlaid pocket knives. And then I had the guy lay them all out there, and I said, okay, the one that Jim would like the best will feel warmer than the others. And I pass it over and found that. And then I take a picture so Jim can give me feedback afterwards. If, yeah, that is the one I liked, or no, I like this other one better. Actually, he really liked that one the best. But I use that kind of thing all the time. If you take a picture and you get feedback, that creates the time loop or finishes the time loop, and then you can use that as an ARV technique. So I use those types of things pretty frequently, and I've also had quite a bit of success with the lotto, the scratch offs, picking winning ones using the technique that I teach in the ARV class, and that going there and using all these techniques. But I don't do well with the pictures and envelopes, and I displace constantly. So if you're trying to use a picture and envelope type of thing, you're going to displace a lot more. You're much better off with the sensory, like Lyn said, for sure.
I am not finding the virtual monitor program. If I find it, I will send it to Lori. She can put it up on her website and you can download it. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Lyn.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Anyway, Lyra and JT, I hope that helped somewhat. Then we've
Mhm.
got TH says, prior to learning CRV, I was a natural psychic. Now, when I try to view, I can't get to the aesthetic impact from phase two. Before trying CRV, I went directly to AI to view. Now I feel stuck and kind of like I've lost functioning. Thoughts? Oh, that's interesting.
Um, I always tell my students, if what you do works, don't don't mess with it. Okay. And you had a protocol before for what you were doing, and use an analogy here, okay? Swahili English, okay? When you sit down to do the CRV protocol, don't try to do your other method, okay? Follow the protocol for CRV. When you do your other method, don't don't try to CRV it, okay? If it works for you the other way, use it the other way. And you can speak two languages. You can practice two methods and keep the methods pure, and both methods will work.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I also th most of the people that I know, including myself, who had natural psychic abilities and were using them prior to CRV. I always tell people, as Lynn just said, if you keep them separate, like, you have a Phillips head screwdriver for Phillips head screws, you got a flathead screwdriver for flathead screws, you got a hammer for things you need to hammer. If you consider each one its own technique, then you won't lose functioning and you can go back to trying your other, the other method you used and see how accurate it is. Now, one of the things that I did notice though is that sometimes we think we have a certain rate of accuracy because we're not actually keeping data. But when you actually keep data, sometimes you're surprised, and things that you thought you weren't doing well in, you're actually doing better than you thought. So
Mhm.
keeping data is really important. We do have a database on both of our websites that anybody can
Oh, yeah.
access. And what else was I going to say? You don't even have to be my student to access the database either. There was something else that I was going to say about that. Also, I also have found, and I think Lynn can corroborate this too. We go into the slumps, right? We've talked about slumps a lot. You go into a slump where suddenly your psychic functioning kind of takes a dip, and it's because now that you're doing CRV, you've opened the door between conscious and subconscious, and they've got to work something out.
Mhm.
And once they work it out on a level that's below your awareness, so you're not aware of what's going on, then
Right.
all of a sudden everything improves and suddenly you go into a big psychic phase again where you're suddenly
Mhm.
very accurate and you're getting a lot more information. So be patient with yourself right now. Even though you feel like you've lost functioning, know that it isn't permanent. It's something that's getting worked out on the
All right.
subconscious level.
Yeah, the ability is still there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you start treating them as two separate methods, what will happen is you will start discovering that whether you knew it or not, you had a protocol for your other method. And once you start keeping data on that, you will find that you will understand that other method better, start using that protocol that works for you in that method, and you'll improve in that method too.
That's great. That's a great answer. Excuse me. Okay, then Ian said, "Hi, Lori. What would be the best method to develop new ideogram shapes and most useful? Thank you, Ian." Ian, to be honest, one of the things that I recommend that people do is if you go onto Google and you type in, um, what was that? Greg. Yes, I'm going to put it in the chat. Or I guess I can put it. Where would I put it? Would I put it in the chat? Can they see the chat, Trixie? If I put it in the chat, I was going to
Yes,
put
they
it.
can.
Okay, I was going to put in the Greg typing method. If you want to look up the actual link, Trixie, it's Greg, shorthand. I'm sorry, not typing, shorthand method. It's the Greg shorthand method. And shorthand used to have a ton of really great ideograms. And when my mom died and we inherited her books that she bought in 1940, I think, they're these little tiny shorthand books. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's full of ideograms. And so when people, are like, I'm looking for, like something easy to create an ideogram, I always say, well, Greg shorthand has a lot of ideas. But I have found personally for myself, I haven't ever used any Greg shorthand things for ideograms. But I found that when a new ideogram is needed, my subconscious just does it. And suddenly there's a new
Mhm.
ideogram there on the paper. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that. It's a new ideogram. And then the next step is finding out what that ideogram symbolizes or what new gestalt my subconscious mind is trying to give me. So that's been my experience with new ideograms is that they just kind of come. But if you're really stuck and you're
Yeah.
just like, I really want some ideas, the Greg shorthand will give you some ideas that you could start with.
Yeah. If you practice the eight that uh, Ingo created and all that, and really master them, you'll find that variations will come along and your subconscious will start making ideograms for you. The way you find out what they mean is you'll see a variation in your ideogram. You look in your feedback. This is purpose for practice targets. You look in your feedback, and that's where you learn what your subconscious is trying to tell you. It creates the new ideograms. Yeah.
That's great. Monica asked an interesting question, and I don't know that I am uh, competent to answer it, but she says there was a presenter at a recent RFE conference who's training AI to remote view. How do you feel about using AI to remote view? And do you think that even in a double-blind situation, that the seemingly positive AI results can be influenced by the intentions or desires of the researchers directly or indirectly? And I feel that I'm probably not adequate to respond only because I didn't really have enough time to be there to I did attend that one presenter
Mhm.
session, and I didn't feel like I really grasped what he was doing and how he was doing it. And I also, because of my schedule, wasn't able to get to Cloudcroft in time to participate in Deborah's experiments with AI and virtual reality. I think she was also experimenting with VR. And so I don't feel like I'm the best one to answer that question. My I can tell you how I feel about it though, because I am a clairsentient person, and I don't feel that AI will ever be psychic. AI is never going to be psychic. And Angela Ford was recently interviewed on, I think it was Malam, what's her name? Mayim Malik or whatever her name, Balik. Um,
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, and she said the one thing that AI will never be able to do, it will never be able to replace remote viewers, is what
That's right. Yeah.
she was saying, and I agree.
And
I agree with that.
I've taken an AI course, gotten fairly good at AI and understand it pretty well. And so I have put AI to the task of remote viewing. Total failure. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Just, please, mother, I'd rather do it myself. All
And
right.
if I were to if I were to make a comment without trying to diss anyone, please understand. I don't want to say anything unkind to anyone, or and if with you guys understanding that I have a very limited understanding of all this, in the sense I use AI, but I don't. But when it comes to remote viewing, what I understood from the presenter who did an hour-long presentation, or no, it was a, I don't know, 40-minute presentation. What I understood though, I felt that there were many flaws in the technique and the approach. That was my personal opinion of that. But
If
I
you
couldn't
want.
sit here and delineate them to you now because I don't remember, what I don't remember
Yeah.
what I saw that, but I remember thinking, oh, that wouldn't work because of whatever. And so, anyway, one thing I've discovered in my years and years of mentoring with Lynn and Mel Riley and Joe McMonagle and really, and being a remote viewer myself, I've found that Lynn has one of the deepest understandings of how everything works. How
I,
the why behind a lot of things, and when you really understand how this all works, believe it or not, when someone is giving a talk, there's a certain person who I won't mention, but who has who goes around the world talking about remote viewers and saying, "Oh, you can't learn this. You're only as psychic as you're born with, and you'll never get any better. And it's a waste of time to train." And then that person has also put out a lot of training things for like, let's see, test your psychic ability. But there's so many flaws in the way that it's done. It shows
oh,
me that
yeah.
that person has no understanding of the subconscious mind and how CRV works, even though this person purports to be an expert. And so anyway, I've come to realize over the years, just observing, just sitting here and observing and listening to different experts and things, I'm like, Lynn really has the best grasp of how all this works from a subconscious level.
I know who you're talking about, and it's the the standard term is armchair expert.
Armchair expert who's never, it seems like this person's never actually done much remote viewing
No, no.
himself. And if he had, he would have, he would really understand better. But
But
it's
boy,
obvious.
thinks it really the authority on it. Yeah. And as for the AI, one of the problems with the AI when you have it do remote viewing is it comes out with beautiful answers. It's designed to have beautiful answers. But then you take the answers and you compare it to the feedback. Okay. Try it to do, ask it to do a picture in an envelope and compare its results to the feedback. Then do a session yourself, before you do that on the same target, you'll find that your results are better. And it is just, it puts out pretty stuff, but no accuracy. Yeah.
I'm asking Jim to bring me a can of psychic cider so we can show them. Do you have one handy?
I can get one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
grab one real quick because I was thinking we should show them because that's AI. That's psychic AI. So that would be
Oh,
great
yeah.
to show them.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. It has a
Yeah.
psychic thing on it. Yeah.
We're
I'll
gonna
be right
so
back.
Lynn's gonna grab a can of psychic cider for you guys to
Yeah.
show you psychic cider. So this to give you a little preamble of what it is. Psychic cider is something that Lynn's son Leonard came up with, and he's developed it. I think it has a mixture of um, it's gluten free, but it has like apple and vodka and beer kind of it's kind of a mix of things, and it's this apple flavored psychic cider. But he worked for a really long time on creating a QR code that you can put in and you can ask this the for a psychic reading, and you can put any question in there and it will answer you, and it's the psychic AI. And I was actually, you only get, I guess, it's not, it wasn't working last time I tried it, and I thought maybe you only get one question and then it doesn't answer you anymore. But Leonard said no, there must be a glitch, and he was going to try to fix it because you should be able to ask it as many questions as you want. And so I'm not sure if he's fixed it yet, but I was pretty surprised by the answer because the answer was actually very helpful. I asked a real genuine question about, how should I handle XYZ? And it came out with a beautiful response, but it's kind of like asking ChatGPT that question. It's not necessarily psychic. It's kind of using, logic, I think. But anyway, so it's really cool. So Lynn will be back with that in just a minute. And meanwhile, uh, Mariah said, I use a lot of paper doing a session. What can I do to reduce the amount of paper I use? And Mariah, I would suggest trying it using a Remarkable tablet. The Remarkable tablet feels very much like paper. If you don't have a Remarkable tablet, but you have, let's say, an iPad or another tablet, and it feels very glassy, and when you try to write on it, it doesn't feel like paper, and you feel like you can't remote view with it. You can try they have these sheets that you can put on your screen that feel more like paper and gives it more of a paper like texture. And then you can save all your sessions and upload them, and you can do that. That's the only way I know to save paper. We don't suggest writing on both sides of the paper because it bleeds through and can interfere with whatever's going on in the process. So that would probably be the best way. Okay, here comes Lynn. He's gonna.
Yeah. You get a,
There you go. Good job.
here's the psychic cider. And let me video. Uh,
That's a beautiful background, by the way.
oh, thank you.
This
Make it
background is my
known.
real
There you go.
video. Oh yeah, and then you turn that
Cider.
on.
And on the back, it
There's the
has,
QR code. That's the QR code. There's a little.
yeah.
There's so
And
that there's a
QR
picture.
code right here.
And
This
so you,
camera is
yeah, and then
1080p, but it won't focus on that. Um, and it doesn't have the link.
but it
Oh,
does
find
have
the
a
link.
picture of Lynn with a little history of the remote viewing unit on there.
Yeah. And some of the originals also had Ingo there. And So anyway, when I find the link, I will I'll give that to you too. It's a really neat thing. It's an AI thing. You put in a question and it gives you a beautiful mystical answer back. It's something my son programmed for us.
Yeah, I told them all about it while you were out of the room so that
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't
next
know.
question. Next question says, while remote viewing, I seem to always have visuals. I never follow them. I just describe what I'm seeing, colors, motions, etc. I try to make notes on the side of what I keep having occur along with any nouns. I can't figure if this is a bad sign or good. Excuse me. Sometimes it's accurate to describe these things. Excuse me. Sometimes it seems to be completely inaccurate, but I don't seem to be getting many perceptions otherwise. I figure my subconscious is telling me something with imagery, but even without identification of the imagery, it's tripping me up. Any suggestions on this? To me, that sounds normal. Sounds very normal. Um,
Oh, my question is, why do you never follow them? Oh, just describe what I'm seeing, colors, motions, and so on. Perfect.
I
Good.
like that. Yeah, that sounds like you're doing
Yeah. The thing is, you do follow your visuals if that's what you're strong at, but you do exactly what you say here. You describe the colors, motions. You don't say, oh, that's a school bus or something like that. You don't use the nouns. Um, but the things that you notice in those visuals, yeah, describe those things. The things that you don't really notice, the peripheral things, don't worry about them. But your attention will be drawn to something in that visual, and your subconscious is saying, it's like this, it's this color, it's this size, it's this shape, it makes this noise, whatever. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think you're doing it right here.
Yeah, it
Try
sounds like you're really doing a good job. And the main thing is just keep at it. Because
to,
sometimes, we run into an obstacle when we're practicing and we go, oh, why is this happening? Well, it's just part of it's another stage you're going through. And if you just keep working through it, you usually do come out on the other end and it corrects itself, anything that's not going well.
Mhm.
But it sounds to me like everything that's happening to you is a normal part of the mental process, which
Yeah.
is, at
Uh-huh.
least in my experience. So.
Yeah.
And then next it says, is it valid to look for air pressure or atmosphere if we as viewers suspect we've been sent off planet? The reason I ask is I can't tell if I'm at a vacuum site or underwater or regular Earth at sea level, which is also very normal. Pat McDonald, it's very normal to not be aware, especially like if you're in underwater. Like I did a whole session on the floor of the ocean, and
Yeah.
it took me 20 pages before I realized I was in water. And the only
Mhm.
way I knew was by moving up really high, like move 500 feet up, and suddenly you're not in the water anymore, and you go, "Oh, I must have been in water," because you can feel the
Yeah.
difference. Whereas if you can't feel any difference, it's hard to judge where you are. And
Mhm.
I've done some off planet things where I just instantly knew I was off planet, and there were other ones where I had no
Yeah.
idea. I had no idea that I was off planet.
Yeah. But when you know you're off planet, uh, usually it's not because of the atmosphere or something like that. This is a thing that's long been known, uh, decades. It's called the medium problem, that you do not sense the medium you're in. If you're in a vacuum, you don't feel the vacuum. If you're in water, you don't feel water. If you're doing, uh, where is the, you know, where is the mafia boss? And you find yourself in cement, you don't find the cement. you know? so uh, it's called the medium problem. And basically, the only way that you really wind up sensing that is to move out of it and then back. Like if you're in water and you move 1,000 feet up and then move back, you'll all of a sudden sense the difference. And this is where the ambiance exercise comes in so much because you notice the difference. And at some point, you get to where you say, uh, I want to know the medium that I'm in, quit viewing, and then start viewing immediately back again. And you'll sense the difference between the medium at that site and the room you're in. And there's some little tricks to solve the medium problem, but that's what it's called, the medium problem. You never know the medium that you're in. Yeah.
That's really good. Then Ani Shadab said, Lynn, do you consider that a coherent group of interested advanced viewers could be trained to use CRV to deflect or mitigate the negativity of this world for the greater good? And if so, could I request you share how and if you could guide us sometime in the near future?
The answer is an absolute and resounding yes. Um, Phyllis Davis, the um, one of the stars of the Love Boat and Las Vegas TV shows and all that, had cancer. And 5 times she was in the hospital and predicted to not live over a day or two left because the cancer was so bad. And 5 times we got the group together. We were on a email group at the time and had basically a prayer and healing group as a group. And the next day she would be out of the hospital and fine. We can do this. There's a thing that uh, has halfway been proven that says that you cannot remote view something without in some way affecting it. And you can affect the world. You really can. And as a group, works even better.
I was going to try to share a picture of Phyllis, but I don't think I can do it on this one.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Phyllis Davis was a sweet, sweet lady. Um, so yeah, one of the things that we used to do a lot was we would have those MedApps meetings and try to use MedApps to improve the world. Maybe we need to go back to having those on a regular basis.
And if you do, an extremely good friend of mine and a top remote viewer, the way I'll tell you later, Lori, who it is, uh, has been found to have a brain tumor that is on the left side and sort of wraps around to the back of the brain and is having some serious problems. And I'm trying to get as many people trained in medical apps as possible to access and try to
For
heal as
that,
a group.
Lynn, for that we have a group that's functioning. You just send me the details and we'll put it out to our MedApps
I
group.
will.
We have
I
and they've
will.
been doing great work. We had a boy who was burned on 85% of his body, third degree burns, and he's doing
Yeah.
fabulous and got out like a year earlier than they thought he would and everything. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
really effective.
Mhm.
If yeah, so just send me those details and we will put it out to the MedApps group that we have, and then you
Yeah.
can put it out to yours.
But as a group, it works. Lori knows my story. I was given zero chance to survive. And I mean, absolute zero chance to survive. And the pastor of our church called a prayer meeting at like 2 in the morning and fervent prayer. And that morning I sat up on the hospital bed and my wife had gone to give the insurance papers because I was right at death. And and the doctor walked in and I was sitting there and he looked at me and he said, "What the shit are you doing alive?" You know, uh, I'm sorry. And I only found out about the prayer meeting later when I got back home. It works. It does work.
It definitely does. Martin, I was wondering, could you reach out to me at Lori@intuitivespecialist.com. And that way we can, because that would be, I would love that. That would be such a help. So it's Lori@intuitivespecialist.com with an S at the end of specialists. That would be super helpful. And Martin Schmidt, he was saying that he was a former product manager from Oracle. He's retired from there and he could use some tools to recode it, maybe, to create some of those programs like the virtual monitor
Yeah.
and the
Mhm.
other one. Then Karen said, when my ideograms seem to look similar, how do I break this trend? Is there a way to prevent this from happening or simply practice? Um,
Yes.
I'll let you answer that, Lynn.
Okay. Ingo said ideogram A and B. Okay. What is the A part? It's the look and the feel. Okay. I have probably 30 ideograms that are straight line and they all feel different. Okay. And each one has a different meaning, but they look exactly the same. And so as you retrace that ideogram, be very conscious of the feel of it. And the analogy I always use is if I write NO, okay, no. But if I say no, I can say no, or I can say no. Ah, the feel is different. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the A part has shape and feel, and that's how you tell the difference.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize how important the feeling component is. They just think it's all about the way it looks, but the
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
component is so much more important. And the funny thing is, for the first, I don't know, time is relative, but it seemed like a really long time that I was studying with Lynn, where I really didn't get the feeling component. And when I'm working with all my students, one of the most common things is, Lori, I don't understand this feeling component. And but I remember that when it finally really hit me, I was doing something and I'd done a long ideogram and I was running my finger along it and I was like, I really do feel a difference, between here and here and here and here. And I could feel the difference
Yeah.
along the line. And that's when I really went, I really am noticing the feeling component now. I kind of had to fake it till I made it for a while, but then it really started making a lot of sense to me and having that feeling component so much stronger. And for those of you who've been trained with other trainers who kind of go by, when I say feeling component, rather than it being a tactile feel, it's more like, oh, this felt really liquidy or this felt really fast or something
Yeah.
as they did it. The one thing I just want to say is that some people go through stages and they'll go through a stage where every ideogram looks exactly the same by appearance and they can only tell
Mhm.
the difference by the feeling. And that's usually just a temporary stage that have, and there are
Mhm.
we've noticed now that there are stages that viewers go through where they reach
Oh, yeah.
certain milestones, like the baby lifting its head and the baby starting to roll over. Viewers also have their milestones that they hit. And so, whatever stage you're in and whatever you're going through right now, just know it's not permanent. It's just something you're experiencing,
That's right. Yeah. Mhm.
and you'll continue progressing through that.
And just remember too that the basic course is not about getting the target. It's about learning how to use the tools.
Hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kathy McKenna, thank you. Kathy McKenna, that is the most beautiful Christmas card I've ever gotten in my whole life. Thank you so much for sending it to me. I'm so glad you're here and I can thank you personally. She sent me the most gorgeous, in my favorite colors too. It's the most
Really.
beautiful Christmas card I've ever seen. And, and Kathy, when you said, is there a book associated with the theory? I'm not sure what theory I think we've probably moved on from that. Now I don't know what theory we're talking about. Do you know what theory she might
Yeah.
be?
Theories abound.
Theories abound. I'm not sure which theory you're referring to. You might have to write it again.
Yeah.
You might have to write the question again. And then Deborah Furcher. Hi, Deborah. Deborah's in Australia. She says, regarding remote influencing, I'm wondering if Lynn has had any visions about how such an ethical and responsible community of students could positively influence the current level of chaos in the collective consciousness field, like bigger picture stuff. And that's what I was just mentioning, Lynn. Like there's two things we were talking about. One is, we have a group of medical apps people who, when we have somebody who needs healing, we ask them to work on them. and I'm part of the group, and I think you're part of the group. But then before we had a separate MedApps group, and the things we did were bigger picture things. And so I'm wondering if we need to restart our bigger picture group that met on a regular basis. This other group we don't meet.
Good idea.
We just send them emails and say, "Hey, we've got a situation. Could you work on it?" But we could have a group that meets regularly where we actually go, "Okay, what's a bigger picture thing that we could tackle as a
Yeah.
group?" And so and then I think the key, Deborah, is that we never come from a place of hate or vengeance or violence
Right.
or anything like that, because that's a boomerang and you throw it out and
Hmm.
it comes back and it hits you. So we have to make sure that no matter what we're doing, we do it from a place of love, and where we're using love as a thing. So let's just to give an example, let's say that we have a guy who's a terrorist and he's planting bombs all over the place, and we want to get him to stop planting bombs. We have to remote view the guy well enough to understand something that really means a lot to this person and work at it from
Right.
that angle, rather than trying to hurt him to get him to stop, for example.
Hmm.
uh, so and you might
You
even
know,
use your
the
Gorbachev
old
example.
saying is what goes around comes around. You try to hurt someone, you're going to hurt yourself. You try to help someone, you're going to help yourself. And, the Arab terrorist or whatever, you know, you help that person learn that, you know, killing yourself and killing others is not the way. It's not, it may be what the Imam says, but it's, God said, thou shalt not kill. Something like that, and you try to help them. It works better than if you try to hurt them. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think maybe when Kathy McKenna was asking about, is there a book to support the theory, I think she might have been talking about the reincarnation thing we were talking about. And
Oh,
I don't know if there are any books that talk about adolescent reincarnation. I don't know.
I
Um,
don't know either. It's never been a really topic of concern to me. Um,
But Linda, I just want to say that, because Linda says if reincarnation happens around 12 or so, what's going on with that child before reincarnation? They aren't soulless, are they? And the answer would be no, definitely not soulless.
no, huh?
But the thing about it is we don't know how all this works. Your answer is as good as mine. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't think that every single person experiences reincarnation at 13 or 12. I think that there's a lot of different things that
No.
happen when people
Oh,
cross
yeah.
over. Some people cross
Yeah.
over and they go to a place of healing where they are recuperating
Mhm.
from much trauma on the planet. Other people might be stuck in a certain place because they won't let go of it. Other people might be in a kind of a depressed place. Other people might be in a heavenly place and they're getting to see all their relatives. Not everybody pops into a 13-year-old.
Right.
And some people
Yeah.
might also step into a baby, so we don't know. None of us really know how this works. So we don't really have an answer for your question. And then Karen says Jill Bolt Taylor's book, Whole Brain Living, The Anatomy of Choice and the Four Characters That Drive Our Life, is excellent to helping me understand what's going on with CRV. Oh, that's a great suggestion.
Mm.
Yeah, Trixie, maybe you could put a link to that book there. That sounds really great.
Yeah.
I loved her other book, about the flash of insight, or what was it, the stroke of insight.
Mm.
She also wrote a book with Sue Morter, who I was on a TV show with, and I will be seeing again in a few weeks. Sue wrote Morter's book. Was written with Jill Bolt Taylor. Then thank you, Martin. I appreciate it. He gave me his thing there, so I'm gonna just quickly uh, put it in my notes. There we go, so that I can. That's great. Okay, cool. That way, I've got it now. I grabbed it already, Martin. Then Jacqueline says, I'm pretty new to RV and I realize I need to practice, practice, practice. Yes, I'm wondering if one doesn't have the time to do a session in a single setting. When you come back to it, do you need to do the set aside process every time to restart from a break, or is it though time didn't stop when you take it up again? Plus, it's challenging when needing to speak aloud throughout the process. That's really true. And it's funny that you should ask that, Jacqueline, because I had a long talk with David this morning. We were meeting and talking about this very thing. And he was saying, you should do a demo where you're having to break and resume so people can see how you resume. Um, and if I'm away from a target for a long time, like a month, I like to do the set asides again because I usually have totally different set asides. But normally, if I'm just breaking and resuming, I don't always do the set asides again. I just jump
Yeah.
back in and take up wherever I left off. But I usually do take the coordinates again when I from a break, just because I like to. It's personal preference. Uh, so so that's my answer
I
to that.
was sent a recording that I didn't know had been made of me teaching a class in Las Vegas, and Pam Carnado was there. And I would do something on the board, and I would turn around and start explaining what I had done and all this other stuff. Then I'd go back and work the session, turn around, explain what I'd done and all this. And when I finished, they opened the envelope and saw what I had done, in the viewing. And Pam said, "What are you doing? I meditate for hours before I do this, and you know, you just do it." You know?
Do you know when I asked Pam, I said, why are you taking CRV? You were already had two TV shows before you ever even heard of us, and she's taken my classes twice each. I know she's taken a bunch from you. She's taken from Paul Smith. She's taken from
Yeah.
about everybody under the sun. And I said, why? So why? What's your interest in CRV if you were already so talented and successful? And she said, well, I feel like CRV has increased my intuitive ability 400%.
Oh
And
yeah.
I learned that I don't have to meditate for hours before every session. So yeah, that must have been when that happened.
Yeah.
And Tamitha says, adorable pupper. Thank you so much, Tamitha. He's huger. We just picked him up from being at a week at a, with a caregiver. And my husband's like, does he look bigger? I said, he does look bigger. He's only a year old and he looks like he
Oh,
grew. So we're like, how big is he going to get? Um, Deborah says, happy holidays. I have a question about viewing. I did take CRV with Lori a few years back and bending spoons a party and ARV, won some scratchers. So freaking fun. Anyway, my question is with CRV. My stray cat is usually great, but when I put aside and start going through the structure, I lose the plot. I'm fine staying with this since I'm not looking to work in this field, but I would like to know, how do I hold the scene? It seems to come and go quick, but I want to stay and snoop around. Thanks. That's a great question. I'll give you time to.
okay. Yeah. Oh, the scene. Okay. Yeah.
So
How do you know you lose the scene or you lose the plot? Um, if you are building a plot, you're building a castle. And when you go back, don't look to continue a plot. Just go back and say color, smell, taste, texture, and keep viewing. And what may happen is that your subconscious will say, okay, we've done that part of the chart. Now I'm going to describe something else. And will change its attention, or it may go back to the same thing and say, wait, there's more. And by doing that, you're letting your subconscious be in charge of the session. That would be my answer.
And one thing too that I think it's really important that most new students don't want to hear, but I'm going to tell you anyway, is that with a lot of practice and some really good lots of viewing under your belt, over time you'll reach a point of having an experience of bilocation or perfect
Yeah.
sight immersion or an ERV state. These are all different states, but they're very similar. in that you get so immersed in the target that then you are there, and you're not building a castle. It's not like you have this big idea of what the target is, but you're there in such a way that you can describe incredible amounts of detail accurately because you're just there and it's surrounding you.
Yeah.
And so, those are things that a lot of us remote viewers live for. The
Mhm.
problem is that it doesn't normally happen to new viewers. It happens after really putting in the time and the effort and the
Years. Yeah.
years. So that's
And
taken a
when
lot of
that does
patience.
happen, like you're viewing something and you have the bilocation or the perfect site integration, and you realize I have to come out and report this. You break from it, and let's say there was a car or a um, something at the target. When you want to go back into that perfect site integration, you don't try to go back to the site. You pick something that was noticeable to you there and you say, go back to it. And that will draw you back into the bilocation of the perfect site integration.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And Hamid, I just want to say enthusiasm is definitely a key thing. If you're excited about it, you'll want to learn it, you'll want to practice. If you're not
Right.
excited about it, then it's probably not for you. If it's something that doesn't, I just, the minute I found Lynn's website, I was so captivated that nothing would have turned me around. I was just like, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. And there are certain people who just feel like that. And the wonders of the mind are so fascinating that after how many years, Lynn, our combined experience is probably 60 years or something or
Yeah.
more, then you're just so fascinated. You never lose fascination with it. And it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
So the enthusiasm is definitely a key thing.
I've
Um,
always said I'm not surprised anymore by what I see remote viewers do, but I will never quit being amazed.
mhm. Yeah,
Just amazing. It
that's
really
right.
is.
Teresa says, when I was looking through my mom's home after she passed, I found out she was doing CRV. She never mentioned it. We could have had some really good conversations. Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, and let's see what else. Then Kevin says, when starting out 2 years ago, I would get physically drained. Now I have emotional outbursts crying for no reason. Any techniques to eliminate this? Is this abnormal? That's interesting. Oh,
Oh,
oh, thank you.
psychic cider. Yeah.
Jim brought me the. I had texted him, and he just now saw the text, so he brought the psychic cider in. Thank you, sweetie.
Hello, Lynn.
Hey, Lynn. That Jim saying hello.
How are you?
Hey,
Everything
stay warm up there, okay?
okay? Will do.
All right. um, Many times at the subconscious level, a something about the site may trigger some repressed memory, some repressed motivation, or something like that that's in your subconscious. And all of a sudden, you'll have this emotional reaction, and you don't even understand why. Uh, the fact is that that target has somehow brought up something that's repressed inside of you, and it brings it up, and you tend to work it out. One of the things you'll tend to notice if you keep good documentation is that after this happens, your score will tend to drop. Okay. And it will drop while you're subconsciously working that out. Then, after it gets worked out at the subconscious level, your viewing will not only improve drastically, but your life will too, because that thing that's been hidden in your subconscious and repressed is now solved. And so, when you have one of these emotional outbursts like that, uh, it's sort of traumatic, but the benefits of it can be great. Um, I wouldn't try to repress those outbursts. That's my advice.
No, okay, can I present another side of the coin?
Ladies do, yeah,
I had a big, huge class with a lot of people in it in New York
yeah,
many years ago, and it was all these. It was a huge class of Russians that had flown in to take the class, and I had a surgeon, a female surgeon, and
mhm,
she was drop dead gorgeous, Lynn. She was so pretty. She could have been a model for sure, but she was a surgeon, and
yeah,
so I paired everybody up, and they were doing their sessions, and her partner that I paired her with came up and said, "Oh, she's crying. She's having this big emotional thing." So I went over to see what was going on. And I'm thinking to myself, now a surgeon has people die on the operating table,
oh yeah,
and I'm sure she has to remain very stoic when that happens. She can't fall apart
right,
as a surgeon. So I said, so tell me about this crying. And she said, oh, don't pay any attention to me. I always cry when I'm doing psychic work. I just cry. I think it's because of the dead babies. I was like, dead, what dead babies? But anyway, so there were no
yeah,
dead babies in her target that I could tell. And so
yeah,
she was like, I just always get very emotional. And I said, well, is it helping you view? And she said, well, no. And I was like, well, how about if you just don't do that anymore? And she said,
yeah.
oh, okay. And then she never did it anymore. And then she
Oh,
was able
great.
to remote view, and it went great. And I was
Yeah,
thinking that part of it, part of her issue was that she had this belief that for her psychic method was that she would cry every time she did a session. And I was like, you can just choose not to do that anymore.
not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's unnecessary. And she was like, oh, okay. And she never did it again. And it went great.
Oh, good,
So I'm just
good.
thinking that, there's a line between repressing emotions that need to be expressed. And I'm,
Yeah.
I'm the
Uh-huh.
queen of that. I am the queen of repressing emotions that shouldn't be repressed. So, and that's a really common thing with adult children of alcoholics. My dad was an alcoholic, and so it's
Right.
like, okay,
Mhm.
so that I have emotions sometimes that I'm not even aware of, and then they suddenly sneak out, and you're like, oh, where did that come from?
Oh,
But
yeah. Uh-huh.
but at the same time, so yeah, don't repress emotions that need to come out. At the
Right.
same time, this could be a stage you're going through that as your stuff is getting worked out,
Mhm.
and that maybe you'll come out of that and that you won't need it anymore. So it's your guess is as good as ours as to your particular situation. So you can take both of those answers and say, okay, which one's true for me, or what do I need to do, and just see.
Yeah, and there's also a third option here, and that is if you practice and learn the set aside process, both in remote viewing and in your life, what you can do when one of these emotional outbursts comes in a session, uh, it sucks for the session. It may be good for you personally, but it sucks for the session. And so what you do is you go over to the side and you say, yes, this is the emotion. I'm feeling this, but it's not the target. It's me. So for now, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm setting it aside. You come back and do the session. And then at the end of your session, you go back through and you say, oh, I set this aside. Now is when I deal with it. Okay.
Hmm.
And so that way you learn within a session how to maybe not escape the emotional outbursts, but how to control them. And listen, if somebody's life depends on that session you're doing, you want to have control over that. And learning and practicing the set aside process can be extremely valuable in your remote viewing.
Because emotions can shut down your session. They can totally shut it
The,
down. And
the only emotion that is really allowed in CRV is curiosity. Get curious about the target.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, Lynn used to always tell me that, emotions can shut down your session. So,
yeah,
since this is controlled remote viewing, I think that really doing an effective set aside will help you set that aside before you start your session. So maybe you don't need to have those emotions while you're in session.
yeah,
That's kind of a long answer, but
yeah.
and then Patricia said, when you're an intuitive, how do you separate what you pick up as that and the remote viewing? So, in other words, the intuitive bursts that come at you during the day when you're out or whatever, how do you separate that from remote viewing? I've done some remote viewing, but my gifts tend to jump in with some answers first. I died as a kid, got gifts, but they mix and match. Can't seem to separate. Yeah, me too. I died as a kid and my things mix and match. But yeah, I think that one of the things I've learned is to look at them as separate tools and try not to mix them, because if I need a Phillips head screwdriver, I can't use a hammer. So sometimes if I pick stuff up while I'm out and about, I'm like, oh, that was great, and it helps, like it helped me avoid an accident, or it helped me avoid whatever. I had a vision, or I had an inkling, or I had a leading, or whatever. That's very separate from when I sit down at a table with a pen and a paper and I'm doing a remote viewing session, which is CRV. And so I've got a CRV tool, that's my Phillips head screwdriver. Then I've got
Mhm.
my natural intuition that just comes all day long for whatever reasons. That's its own
Yeah.
tool. And I just look at them as separately. I have to look at them that way. Now, when you're in a session sometimes and you get a leading
Right.
that's intuitive, if it's telling you what the target is, I still set it aside,
Mhm.
because that's still our job is to describe, don't identify when doing CRV. And that's the thing that I find that a lot of my students who are naturally intuitive want to lean into, like, oh, I think I know what the target is. And that's what we're avoiding. And that's what you
Yeah.
want to separate. You want to say, well, I don't care if you know what the target is, because it's that little ego burst that goes, but I want to guess and I want to see if I'm
Mhm.
right. And that comes with our intuitive thing of going, well, I'm pretty psychic, and I can.
Mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so we have to kind of separate those things just by recognizing, no, my job is to describe, don't identify. I'm doing
Mhm.
CRV right now. I'm going to set that aside as a stray cat. It may turn out to be accurate, but I don't care. My job is describe, don't identify at this point.
That's right. That's one of the rules. And another rule is if you get it during the session, write it down. I don't care where it comes from. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Make sure you document what you got. Yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
how can you verify it or not verify it later if you don't have it written down?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's true. And then Teresa says, I have had a lot of success when using Lori's technique. Sometimes I get stuck. So are you saying don't use the sensory while using the usual method? I don't know. We definitely didn't say that. Sensories play a
Uh,
huge role. Teresa,
yeah.
sensories play a huge role in your remote viewing. And if you use your cue card that I created for you, the cue
Mhm.
card, it just follow the cue card, and that has sensories, dimensionals, all kinds of
Yeah.
things on it.
Uh-huh.
And so when you get stuck,
Yeah.
turn back to your cue card.
Yeah. The sensories are very important. The whole concept behind CRV is your subconscious talks to your conscious mind through the body. So the sensories are very important. Yeah.
Very important. So, um, then Violetta said, which are the most amazing mystery places you've RV'd, like the pyramids or alien related targets? How to RV our future without influencing the result with your desire? What did you RV for the coming year? Is RV different than astral projection? Did you do astral projection? Oh, Trixie, could you post the? That's a lot of questions, Violetta, and we're
Yeah.
already over time. But Trixie, if you would post, I have two blogs that I'd love for you to post. One is there's 8 steps what to do when you get stuck for Teresa. There's a blog called What to Do When You Get Stuck. I think it's a your PRV moment, actually, maybe. I think it's a your PRV moment. Now I'm sending Trixie off on a wild goose chase to figure out whether it's a your PRV moment or what it was, but it's about what to do when you get stuck, and I'm pretty sure that's your PRV moment. And we can post that in the chat. And that will answer one question, Violetta. And then also if you, the blog on 18 years of excitement talks about viewing Mars and viewing some really exciting targets. And then also there's that blog on the difference between astral projection and CRV. That would answer that question. So we can knock a lot of those out by just giving her links to those blogs, and those blogs answer those questions, because otherwise it would take us too long. Um, and I think Mars was one of the most fascinating targets I've ever viewed. It was really it was a life-changing target for me. Also, Bigfoot was another one that really changed my life, viewing Bigfoot, believe it or not. And so Trixie's posting those into the chat right now for you, Violetta. And is it okay if we move on to the next one then, Lynn? Since we're a little over time?
I'm sorry. Oh.
Is it okay with you if we go on to the next question? We're a little over time.
Oh, yeah.
So the next one
Yeah.
is Joel's. He said, Lori, you mentioned that your dad spoke to you before transitioning to another person and couldn't speak with you anymore. Did you get the impression that he had a choice in the matter? Did he become that person's subconscious, or was he just a guide for that person in the moment? At the time that I had the experience, he told me I have to go be this person now. So that's what he told me. He was actually going to like step in, and he was becoming this boy. So I don't know how things work. I know that I did ask him before he told me that he had to go become this boy. I said, explain to me how it works after we die. Like, is it reincarnation? Is it heaven and hell? Is it this? Is it that? And he said, are you sure you really want to know? And I said, yeah, I really, really want to know. And he said, okay, I'll tell you. And the next thing I know is I was going, you are kidding me. And I have this little slice of information was removed, and I was going, oh, you're kidding me. And I felt completely flabbergasted. And I have no memory of what he told me, but I know that it was like, oh my gosh, that wasn't any of the things I thought. It doesn't work it doesn't work like I thought at all. And after that, though, even though I haven't like connected with him in the same way, one thing that I did come to realize is that we all have kind of a duality, I guess you could say. That's really kind of a poor way of saying it, but I feel like we're here on this planet, but if there's a part of us that's always connected, that's kind of like a higher self, maybe, or this that's connected to all that is, or connected to God. And so I feel like there's been times when I've connected with his higher self that's different from just connecting with his full essence. There's a part of him that's now on this planet living another kid's life, and there's a part of him that's still like, there's a part of me that's a higher self that sometimes gives me advice. So
Yeah.
Trixie did post all those blogs, guys. So if you want to look in the chat, she's got some in there. Anyway, so I don't have that's about the best I can answer that one, Joel. And then Bienvenido Macario says, Trixie, thank you. Yes, thank you, Trixie. And let's see, I think, oh, Annie Sharab says she can't access the chat. So does that mean nobody can access the chat? Maybe if we have the chat shut down, nobody can even pull things off of it.
Hmm.
So we might have to, I don't know if we can unlock the chat or not. Okay, well, it's 1:20. Thanks for letting us know, though, Ani Sharab.
Hmm.
And yeah, so anonymous attendee, we already answered this one that we were talking about. We need to create a group to do that again. And then Dave Sells says, AI hallucinates too much. Constance says, I just thought of this. Sometimes I find myself questioning if I'm interpreting my gestalts or ideograms correctly. I'm wondering if you were to CRV your ideograms, would you get a better understanding what they mean? Is it worth trying to CRV your ideograms? That's a great question, Constance.
Hmm.
What would you say to that one, Lynn? I'm curious to how you would answer that.
I'm not finding that one. I was
It's
looking at
CV.
Violetta's
If you go
question.
if you go past Violetta's and you see Ann Smith, then you see Ani Sharab, then you see Violetta again, and then you see Anonymous Attendee, then Dave Sell, and then Constance. So it's a little ways down.
Oh man,
Do you see
I'm
that?
kind of behind here. I'm
If you
down at
see,
Scooter and
oh no,
Steve.
go up. She's two above Scooter. Do you
Oh,
so
okay.
would you suggest that for someone to get a better understanding of their ideograms that they could actually use CRV to remote view an ideogram and the meaning behind it? I don't see why you couldn't.
Well, the ideogram is your subconscious, is the physical representation of what's in your subconscious mind. And so you'd be viewing yourself,
Yeah.
and no problem with that, you know. And and when you do that, what you learn is that the ideogram is a part of speech that you never were taught in school. It's I forget what the psychiatrists and psychologists call it. I forget the word, but it's not a noun. It's the eness of something. Like uh, I don't know why Engel used water instead of liquid, but you get the ideogram for water. It can be a flowing movement. It can be a flowing anything. It doesn't have to be water. It can be oil, it can be sludge, whatever. It can be melted glass, melted metal, who knows what. It's the essence of liquidity. That it's the essence of what we call water. It's not the water. And it's not even liquid, it's liquidity, the flowing and all that. So it's a word that has so many meanings that you can't nail it down to one meaning. And so when you CRV your subconscious mind and what it means when it says something like that, uh, be prepared to get a very vague answer and try to understand that very vague answer.
And excuse me. Scooter said AI might be good at predictions and RV based on history and existing information, which is true. It could be helpful. Martin says, can AI be used to analyze ideograms and trained to analyze session data images? AI, yes, can definitely be used for analysis and for helping to gather the reports and summarize sessions. We've been using it for that, and it's super good for that. And we found it very helpful. Kelly asked, wondering if anyone knows how to deal with nefarious entities that are attached to my negative roommate. Oh, goodness. Well, that's a scary one, and that's kind of outside of the realm of what we're doing with these Q&As that are about CRV. I think we're stepping outside of that, Kelly, and since we're already over time, I don't know that we want to get into that right now, unless you have a really fast answer, Lynn.
It can be done, but listen, until you've learned to master the technique, uh, don't stick your hand in a hornet's nest, okay? uh, you're here to learn. You're here to learn how to do it. Learn how to do it, and then you will find a way. Okay.
Okay, and so now we've still got 67 questions, Lynn. So I think we're going to have to cut it off, unfortunately.
Okay.
I just but I do want to just address this last question because it's a very important one from JT. He says, I once gave Lyra a target, which was the end of the Cuban Revolution. Many people cheering in the streets as the revolutionaries drove into Havana. She experienced a very disturbing feeling during the session. She felt extremely cold, heavy, deep sadness, visuals of caskets and funerals. I feel like it's possible she was viewing some of the sad circumstances which would surround any armed conflict. But the extremity of it made me worried that she may have come into contact with something else. How can one discern whether perceptions could be difficult circumstances surrounding the target or whether they are contact with something or someone else? Thank you. That feels like an important question that I've gotten a lot, and a lot. We've also seen a lot of different types of those things that meant different things to depending on what was happening. Like you remember when Gail Husick was doing a practice target, and she kept having these things about nuclear problems like Chernobyl,
Yeah.
Fukushima. I mean, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. She kept having these things that about nuclear things, bombs and things. She thought, well, that's weird. And when she saw the feedback for her practice target, it had nothing to do with anything nuclear. So she thought, oh man, I was just way off. And she wasn't very off very often. So she wondered, wow, why was I so off? And a few days later, Fukushima happened.
Yeah.
So sometimes your subconscious mind can be saying, hey, I know you're doing a practice target right now, but I've got something more important to share with you. So I'm going to
Right.
give you some information. The only way you can know that that is what was happening is if afterwards there is some confirmation that, oh, that's what I was experiencing, like Gail when she went, Fukushima, oh my gosh, that must have been why I was getting that stuff.
Yeah. There
Um,
was a temporal attractor, a thing at a different time that was going to happen. Yeah. Um, one of the things though, you got to understand that all through history, our psychic or intuitive ability has been used to warn us of dangers. It's basically why it was developed, why we have it, and why we use it. And so it has become easier to see the negative things than the positive things. And the thing about learning the protocols and all that, um, use another analogy here. Anybody can shoot a gun. What you have to do is learn how to aim it. Okay. Anybody can learn a remote view, but you have to be able to say, okay, I'm getting this. What do I want to know about this target? I want to know this, what you're giving me, and I'll write it down. But also, I want to know something else, and you adjust your aim. And this is the thing of mastering the CRV technique. Yeah.
That's a great question. I've also found that if one thing Lynn had given advice to Gail was she could create an ideogram for I have something more important to tell you. So
Right.
that if she practiced it regularly, this ideogram with the rest of her ideograms, then when she was doing a session, if that ideogram suddenly popped into her session, it's like, excuse me, we interrupt this program. We have something more important to talk about. And then she knows to stop that session and go into
Yeah.
a new session. And, with the target is whatever my subconscious is trying to tell me right now.
Mhm.
That's one way.
That's a good ideogram to have too.
Yes, it is. Tish says, I'm new. What's an ideogram? Tish, if you would like, there's a free course on my website at intuitivespecialists.com. And you can go there and learn all about. I have a ton of free stuff about ideograms. You go to free stuff, and it has classes on ideograms. So we won't take time in this right now to answer your question, but it's all right there, and it's all free, so you can jump right in. Intuitivespecialists.com, free stuff. And then let's see. Let me just see. Ashley says the chat comes up for me. So Ani Sharab was saying she couldn't access the chat, but Ashley was saying she can see the chat. And then Irma says I took a screenshot of the chat. And then let's see. And a lot of people were saying thanks, Lynn. Just we had a ton of thank yous, and I was just trying to get to the questions, so I'm just eliminating anything else that isn't a question. I'm glad people can see the chat, though. People are like, I found the chat. I can see the chat. Okay. And then Ani Sharab hasn't been able to find the original interview. No, they took it down, Ani Sharab. Every 7 years, they take down everything. So it's no longer available on the Coast to Coast website. And they never gave me access to it. What is available on my website is the session. The Sasquatch session is still there. The interview you can't access. And then
Gaia interviews people and never gives the people being interviewed access to their own interview. Yeah.
which is a bummer.
Yeah.
And then and then Bienvenido Macario asks, how do you become friends with your subconscious?
How do you what?
How do you become friends with your subconscious?
It's a process. The analogy we use is you've got two neighbors and there's a wall between them. You start tearing down that wall little by little. What's going to happen is you're going to get to know your subconscious, and there will be arguments and there will be times when the two of you start building that wall back up. And the act of building it back up together is going to make you friends again. It's a long process, and it's worth it because the wall finally comes down.
Yes, thank you. That's so true, guys. Thank you so much. You guys wrote some beautiful things. Are you able to copy this for me, Trixie, and send this to me so I can read through these questions later? Thank you guys so much for sending everything. You guys asked wonderful questions. And thank you to those of you who sent these beautiful Christmas cards. I'm not sending out Christmas cards this year, but I'm going to do something digitally, I think, and also send some emails to the list. But I'm not going to physically put stuff in envelopes and mail it just because I don't feel like I have the bandwidth to do that anymore.
Mine got to where my Christmas mailing list was over $500. And so I just decided, hey, I'm going to send out emails, and I take the $500 and there is an orphanage here in town, and I give to the orphanage what I would spend on postage. And by the way, the postage now, warn everybody, I've been told the post office now says if you don't ship in one of their boxes, it's an odd size box and it's about a $40 added fee if you ship in your own box. And so you might want to,
Yikes.
other methods of shipping. Yeah.
Um, let's see. And okay. Now, people who are asking about med apps, in order to take med apps, for my med apps, you have to have taken basic and intermediate at a minimum, and we even prefer that you've taken advanced. And that's because there's some things that I teach in my class that could be used nefariously, and also because in order to understand what I teach in the med apps class, you really have to have that foundation, or it'll go over. A lot of it'll go over your head. So there are some parts of the med apps class so that anyone could do even without a background in CRV. And
Mm.
but the group that we're talking about creating would be graduates of the med apps class. So you'd have to have graduated from that to be part of the bigger picture group that we just mentioned. That would be really important, because just so that we are all kind of coming from the same playing field, I think is important. And uh,
Dave put in https://psychiccider.com. Yeah.
oh, thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. I'll look at the rest of these later, guys, but we're already over 90 minutes. And so I always, whenever I ask Lynn to do this, I'm like, just an hour a month. But then we always go over. But we do try to answer as many of these as we can.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you all so much. I hope you are able to take screenshots of the chat. And Trixie always these sends me these questions. I don't always get to answer them, but at least we have them, and they make great stuff for creating your PRV moments or creating, YouTube videos or whatever. So they are really helpful. Thank you guys so much for taking your time. And so we've got to go. I'm sorry, I'm not able to get to the people with their hands raised. We do ask you to stay in the Q&A so that we can answer in order. That's way we keep it fair that way. First come, first serve makes it a little more fair. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Next one will be January. When is it, Lynn? What did we decide it was going to be? January.
13th.
Let me see here. January, is it January 13th? Yes, January 13th is our next Lyn and
Yeah.
Lori at noon
Yeah.
Mountain Time. January 13th is the next Lyn
Yeah.
and Lori. So put it on your calendars. Get here early. Get your questions in early. That's how you get them answered. Guys, thank you so much.
Yeah. In January, Friday the 13th comes on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Friday the 13th comes on a Tuesday, and in Spanish, they don't have a bad luck day on Friday the 13th. It's Tuesday the 13th. They call it Martes
Oh, is
13.
it?
Yeah, and so it's Tuesday the 13th is the bad luck day, but it won't be for us.
Good.
It won't be for us. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much, and we'll see you in a month. Also, coming up, and also if we don't see you beforehand, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Ramadan,
Holidays.
Happy holidays, and we really appreciate you all, and wish we had solutions to all the world's problems. And we agree with you. The world is a mess right now, and we definitely need to do some big picture work with our MedApps group and our use the techniques that we have available to us. We love you all, and thanks for all you do. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.